The night over the Pacific Ocean was calm and endless, the stars shining above like silver dust on black glass, and the people of Earth lived their lives without any thought of war or danger, because for 3,000 years the galaxy had known peace, and no one alive had ever seen a real battle in space, and the idea of alien ships coming to Earth was something only found in old books and children's stories. That far beyond the clouds, something unseen was moving, something so vast and silent that it made the air itself seem to tremble. A faint light shimmered high in the sky. It's not a star, not a plane, but a rip like a wound opening in the heavens. Slowly at first, then tearing wider, and from that tear in reality a dark shape emerged, followed by another and another, until the night was filled with arrow-shaped shadows, each one the size of a skyscraper, their black metal skin swallowing the starlight as they slid forward without sound. They did not blink lights, they did not send messages, they only began to descend as if they already owned the skies over the deep waters far below. Waves began to churn, and thunder rolled. Where there had been no storm, and in cities along the western coasts, people stopped in the streets to stare at the strange shapes far above. In the underground command center of the White House, President Eleanor Kane was rushed to her seat, her advisors pale-faced as screens lit up with images of hundreds, then thousands of unknown vessels breaching Earth's upper atmosphere. No signal, no identification code, just movement like a swarm of predators, then a blast brighter than sunrise as the first Earth defense satellite was shattered into molten debris in orbit. The president demanded answers, and her communication officers opened the highest-level galactic channel, and for the first time in her life she saw the faces of the Galactic Council leaders, not on a public broadcast but in a secret secure link, and their expressions were not calm and proud, but tense, almost fearful, and one of them, a tall figure with silver skin, leaned close to the camera and spoke words that made the room go silent. "We did not order this. The attackers have no right to exist." Before Kane could demand what that meant, the connection was cut. The president turned to her generals, but before anyone could speak, another shock hit the room. The alien ships were firing in perfect unison, tearing through defense grids, in low orbit, without pause, without warning. It was not an attempt to land and talk. It was an execution of Earth's ability to fight back in less than 5 minutes, more than half. Earth's orbital defenses were gone, the rest damaged or isolated as chaos filled the control room. A deep alarm sounded from Norway, reporting an unidentified object falling fast from the upper atmosphere, and the tracking system showed it was not debris, it was a ship. One of the attackers breaking formation and descending toward Nevada without slowing. The president ordered special forces to intercept and secure whatever landed. The desert night lit up as the alien craft streaked overhead like a burning spear, trailing smoke in fragments before slamming into the sand miles away. The impact shaking the ground for kilometers around. Dust clouds rising like towers in the moonlight. Helicopters roared toward the site, soldiers moving in armored vehicles, headlights cutting through the haze, and when they reached the wreck they expected to find nothing but twisted black metal and fire. Yet what they saw made every man freeze. The ship's hull was cracked open like an eggshell, and inside, in a seat of glowing restraints, was a figure not quite human, its skin pale gray, its eyes luminous, and its breathing ragged. It was injured but alive, and as the soldiers raised their weapons, it lifted its head and spoke in a voice that carried through the dust and wind. "Please help me. They forced us to do this." The soldiers exchanged looks, some thinking it was a trick, but the being continued every word, heavy with desperation. "If they win here, the peace will never return. Not for anyone before anyone could question." Another shadow passed over the crash site, a massive alien vessel moving low, its underside glowing with strange symbols, as if marking the territory. It now claimed. The injured alien looked toward it with terror and whispered words that chilled the soldiers to their core. They were supposed to be extinct for 3,000 years. The Nevada desert was still shaking from the crash when the first team of armored soldiers stepped into the alien wreckage, their boots sinking into the soft sand, blackened by heat. The strange metal hull was unlike anything they had ever seen, not painted, not welded, but grown, like the surface of a living thing, pulsing faintly, as if it still breathed inside. The twisted cockpit, the gray-skinned alien struggled to rise, its glowing restraints flickering as if breaking down from the Crash. One soldier moved forward, aiming his rifle, but the alien raised a weak hand, speaking in a tone both urgent and pleading. My name is Rinner. I am not your enemy. I was given no choice. The soldiers glanced at each other, unsure whether to believe. The air smelled of burnt ozone and something sharp like metal blood and outside. The sound of engines was growing louder. Helicopter rotors chopping the night air as reinforcements arrived. President Kane's orders were clear. Bring the alien in alive for questioning inside a secure underground base. Rinner was placed in a reinforced containment chamber, its walls glowing faint blue from an energy field. He seemed calm, but his eyes never stopped scanning the room as if searching for threats. Dr. Helen Marlowe, chief xenobiologist, entered with 2 guards. She began scanning him with a handheld device, but the readings made her frown. His body carried traces of something ancient, a type of biotech lost for millennia. It was woven into his skin and bones like it had grown there over centuries. Technology powerful enough to wipe out entire cities without ships or weapons. She asked how he got it, and his answer was a low whisper. It is the reason they came here. They fear what I carry. They fear what I know. Outside the chamber, military screens showed alien fleets moving toward major cities: New York, Los Angeles, Tokyo, London, all under attack. Defense forces barely slowing them down. But there was something strange about their attack patterns. They avoided certain areas entirely, as if searching for something specific. Rinner noticed it to his gaze, locking on the maps, and he finally told them what they wanted to know. We were forced to come here not to destroy your world, but to find what is hidden beneath it. The soldiers exchanged uneasy looks. Dr. Marlowe leaned closer. Hidden beneath it. What do you mean? And Rinner answered with words that made the room fall silent. Long before your kind walked this world, my people, the Veiler placed something inside the crust of your planet, something called the Eternity Core. It can power entire galaxies, or it can tear them apart. That is why they want it, and that is why they will burn this world until they have it. President Kane listened through the secure comm channel, and her mind raced to the Eternity Core. Had never been mentioned in any council records. If Rinner was telling the truth, then Earth was sitting on the most dangerous object in known space. She ordered the base put into highest lockdown level and demanded direct contact with the Galactic Council again this time. The connection was delayed longer than usual. When it came through, the council leader's voice was tight and short. Precedent. Kane asked why Earth had not been warned about the Eternity Core, and the leader simply said, there are things better left buried. Before cutting the line again, the soldiers in the room felt the air grow heavier, as if the desert outside was holding its breath. Then the alarm screamed. The alien fleets had changed direction, heading straight for Nevada. The crash site was no longer just a random accident. They had tracked their missing ship here, and now they were coming for Rinner in minutes. Fighter jets roared overhead, tanks rumbled into position around the base, the night sky lighting up with anti-air fire and streaks of plasma from alien weapons. The ground shook with each hit, dust falling from the ceiling of the underground chamber. Rinner looked at Kane through the camera link, his voice urgent. If you keep me here, they will come until nothing is left. Let me go, and I will lead them away, or help you hide the core. But if you hesitate, they will find it, and it will be too late. Kane stared at him, weighing every word, knowing that one wrong choice could decide not just the fate of Earth, but of the entire galaxy. Deep under the fortified Nevada base, the hum of machines and distant thunder of battle mixed into a constant pressure in the air. As President Kane demanded another secure channel to the Galactic Council, the communications officers worked quickly, their fingers flying over glowing panels until the faces of the council members filled the wall screen, their expressions pale and strained. She asked again why the Eternity Core was hidden from Earth, why they had never been warned, and the leader, an ageless figure with gold eyes and voice like cold stone, answered in measured tones, because the core was never meant to be found. It was supposed to remain forgotten. Kane's voice was sharp. Forgotten or stolen, which is it? The leader's eyes narrowed, and he said, you do not understand what you protect. That object could break the balance of the galaxy. Before she could reply, the image wavered and suddenly vanished, replaced by static and a flood of unauthorized signals, as if someone else had tapped into the transmission. And then another face appeared, a shadowed figure speaking in a whisper laced with static. You are being lied to. Earth has never been a member of the Peace Pact. You are an occupied world under observation. The core was hidden on your planet by the Veiler to keep it out of the Council's grasp. But 3,000 years ago, the Council decided the Veiler would not obey, so they destroyed them, or thought they did. Rinner stepped forward in his chamber eyes, locked on the shadowed face, and said, "I knew you would come, old friend." The figure turned slightly, revealing features alien, yet familiar to him. "I told you, Rinner, the Council's thirst for control would not end. They will burn every world until the core is theirs." Kane demanded to know who was speaking, and the figure introduced himself as Veiler, once a member of the Council, but exiled for revealing their secret weapons programs. He claimed the Council had already planted agents inside Earth's military to ensure the core would be recovered at any cost. The room fell silent, the implication sinking in someone in Kane's own command was working for the enemy outside. The walls, the sky blazed with streaks of fire as alien vessels clashed with human fighter jets, their explosions lighting the desert like a false dawn. But in the command center, Kane's focus was razor sharp. She ordered an immediate scan of all high-ranking officers for unauthorized transmissions, and within minutes, security teams were dragging a screaming general from the operations floor, his wrist device broadcasting encrypted coordinates to the alien fleet. Rinner's voice came low and urgent. "You see now? They are closer than you think. The enemy is not just in the sky, it is in your own house." Kane's thoughts raced. She realized the Council was using the alien invasion as cover, a war staged not to conquer Earth, but to distract. While they claimed the core without resistance, Dr. Marlowe approached, her tablet trembling in her hands. "The biotech inside Rinner is not just a weapon, it is a map. It points directly to the core's location." Kane turned to Rinner. "You could have told us sooner." His eyes burned with a mix of pain and defiance. "I needed to know if I could trust you, and now I do. But trust will not save your world, only action will save it." As the words hung in the air, a tremor rippled through the baselights, flickering as distant impacts shook the structure. A fresh wave of alien ships had broken through the outer defense lines. Veiler's shadowed face returned to the screen, his tone sharp and final. "President Kane, you have two choices. Evacuate the core now, and I will help you hide it where neither side can find it, or wait and watch as both the Council and my people tear your world apart." Kane's jaw tightened. The decision would mean defying the most powerful force in the galaxy. But doing nothing would hand them the key to control over every star system for the next 1,000 years. She stepped forward, eyes cold with resolve, and said, "Tell me where to go." The desert wind howled over the Nevada base as inside the command center Veilor's shadowed form transmitted a set of coordinates so ancient they predated human history. The numbers appeared on the screen glowing faintly, as if written in light, not ink, and Dr. Marlowe gasped, recognizing the sequence from deep geological scans done years ago that had been marked, classified, and forgotten. It was a location far below the crust, deep under a chain of mountains thousands of miles from Nevada, a place so remote that no modern tunnel or drill had ever reached. Kane demanded to know how to get there, and Rinner stepped forward, saying, "The path is older than your species. It lies in the bones of the planet itself. There is a cavern system sealed by my ancestors. Only those carrying the biotech markers in my body can open it." The base shook again as explosions rumbled outside alien ships, strafing the desert in tight formation, the sound of plasma fire rolling across the sky. Kane ordered immediate preparation for a covert transport of Rinner and a small team to the coordinates, knowing that moving him through the battlefield would be nearly impossible. Stealth craft were readied, their black holes absorbing the moonlight as soldiers armed with experimental energy rifles gathered for the mission. Every second counted. The alien fleets were adjusting their attack lines, forming a corridor that pointed almost perfectly toward the core's hidden location. Clearly they too had learned where it was, and the Council's forces were inbound from the opposite side of the planet, massive carriers slicing through the atmosphere, leaving trails of blue ion fire. The situation was turning into a three-sided race for control over something powerful enough to unmake worlds. As Kane boarded the command transport with Rinner, Dr. Marlowe, and a hand-picked strike team, the comms crackled With updates, enemy ships at the outer perimeter defensive lines, collapsing evacuation routes failing. But the stealth craft slipped out under the cover of heavy bombardment. Flying low through canyons and over dark forests to avoid detection, the hours passed like minutes, and soon the black peaks of the target mountain range rose in the distance, jagged and ancient, their snowy crowns gleaming faintly under the stars. Renner guided them to a narrow valley, ending in a wall of stone that appeared solid, but under his touch shimmered like liquid glass, the biotech in his body responding to the gate as ancient symbols flared to life in the rock face. A deep grinding sound echoed through the valley as the wall split open, revealing a tunnel, sloping down into darkness, wide enough for the transport to enter. Kane ordered them inside the walls of the passage. It's glowing faintly with a soft green pulse that seemed alive. The air grew warmer and heavier the deeper they went, until they emerged into a cavern so vast it could have swallowed a city. At its center, a pillar of crystal rose from the ground, twisting upward into the shadows. Above, veins of golden light flowing through it like molten rivers, Dr. Marlowe whispered the Eternity Core, her voice shaking with awe and fear. It was beautiful and terrible all at once. Kane felt its pull in her bones, as if it were aware of her presence. Renner moved toward it slowly, but before he could reach the crystal, the cavern erupted with the roar of Engine's Council dropships piercing the tunnel gates behind them, alien warships cutting through from another passage on the far side. The core chamber was instantly transformed into a battlefield plasma bolt streaking through the air chunks of crystal and stone exploding under the impacts. Kane shouted for her team to hold position as she and Renner made a desperate push toward the core. The heat from its light growing intense, like standing next to the heart of a star above them. The ceiling cracked under the pressure, sending showers of stone raining down, and in the chaos Kane caught sight of something worse, the council leader himself stepping from his ship clad in black armor flanked by soldiers, his voice amplified across. "The chamber, your world, will not decide the fate of the galaxy. Human, the core is ours." Renner's eyes narrowed as he drew a small device from his belt, pressing it to the crystal's surface, causing the golden veins to flare brighter and a deep hum to rise from the ground. The leader lunged forward, but Kane and Renner stood between him and the core, both knowing that the next seconds would decide the survival of not just Earth, but every world within reach of the stars. The golden light from the Eternity Core flared so brightly it painted every face in the chamber in shifting fire as Kane and Renner stood their ground council soldiers advancing in a black wave, their armor reflecting the glow, while from the opposite side the alien Valer attackers surged forward with weapons that hissed and spat streams of green plasma. The air filled with heat and dust, the sound of battle echoing like thunder in the cavern's vast hollow space. Kane's strike team took cover behind crystal spires, returning fire with disciplined bursts. Each shot sending ripples of light through the walls as if the core itself was reacting to the violence above it all. The council leader strode forward, unhurried, as if he knew the outcome was already his voice cutting through the chaos. "President Kane, you cannot stop what is coming. This is not about Earth. This is about the survival of order in the galaxy, and you are standing in the way." Renner's grip tightened on the small device, pressed to the core, whispering for Kane to hold the line. Just a little longer, but then a burst of gunfire rang out from behind them. One of Kane's own soldiers, turning his rifle on the team, 3 men dropping instantly. The betrayer was the same general caught earlier, now freed. Somehow his wrist device glowing with the council's encryption, he shouted for the council forces to push forward the way. Clear now. Kane ducked behind a shard of crystal, her mind racing with options. Knowing that if the council reached the core, they would have absolute control over energy and life for all worlds for all time. Renner's body was glowing faintly now, the biotech in his skin pulsing in rhythm with the core, the link between them drawing stronger with every second. Dr. Marlowe called out over the gunfire. "The core is resonating with him. If it completes the connection, it might unlock." Kane asked, "Unlock what?" But there was no time for an answer. The Valer forces unleashed a final push, breaking through the council's left flank, their leader Valer charging in with a blade that shimmered like liquid light, striking down 2 council guards in a single motion. He called to Kane, "If you want to keep your world, you must let me take the core far from here. Kane hesitated, torn between trusting Rinner or this shadowed figure who had once betrayed the council. Both claimed they could keep it safe, yet both had reasons to use it for their own people above their heads. A deep rumble grew louder as more dropships descended through the tunnel, ceiling dust choking the air, flashes of blue and green light mixing in a blinding storm of colors and heat. Kane's earpiece crackled with desperate voices from the surface. The battle topside was lost, the last human defensive lines breaking, alien ships landing in cities across the planet. The war was spilling into every corner of Earth. Rinna met her eyes and spoke with fierce urgency. "This is our only chance. If they get past us, there will be no second fight." Kane made her choice. She ordered her team to hold the council at all costs, then followed Rinner straight to the core, its golden veins flaring into a blinding radiance as his biotech merged fully with it. Ground shuddered with a low bass hum, rising to a roar, cracks spreading through the crystal pillars around them. The council leader shouted to stop him, but it was too late. The core was awakening, its light spilling upward into the cavern ceiling, punching a beam straight into the sky, visible for thousands of miles. The battle stopped for a heartbeat as every soldier from every side turned to look at the impossible column of light. Then chaos returned, twice as fierce, both the council and the Veiler charging toward the heart of the beam. Kane knew they had only seconds before they were overrun. She reached for the control crystal in Rinner's hands, but before she could touch it, an explosion tore through the chamber wall, hurling her into the air, and when she landed, the core was still blazing, but Rinner was gone, pulled into the light itself, as if claimed by the power he had. Awakened, leaving Kane alone between two armies, each closing in for the final claim the light from the Eternity Core burned brighter than the sun, filling the cavern with a heat that made the air shimmer. Kane struggled to her feet, ears ringing from the blast, the walls trembling as if the mountain itself was alive. Council soldiers and Veiler warriors clashed around her, their shadows slicing through the golden glow. The core's energy beam shot straight into the heavens, tearing the clouds apart above the mountain and casting its signal into deep space, a beacon that no one could ignore. Kane's eyes searched the chaos for Rinner, but he was nowhere. The control crystal lay on the ground, pulsing with the same rhythm as the core. She snatched it up, feeling the weight of it like holding a living heart. The council leader advanced toward her, armor scorched, but his voice steady. "Give it to me, and I will end this war. You cannot control what you hold." Kane backed toward the core, her mind a storm of choices. Every one dangerous. Veiler appeared from the smoke, his weapon dripping with the energy of fresh kills, his voice low and urgent. "The council will enslave every world with the core's power. Give it to me, and I will scatter it so no one can ever use it." Kane looked between them, knowing that neither man spoke for Earth. And in that moment she thought of the burning cities above, of the screaming children pulled from the rubble of streets turned to ash. She thought of Rinner's last words, "Peace is not given, it is built." And she made her choice. She pressed the control crystal into the core's surface. The chamber shook like a living thing. Waking from a long sleep, the golden veins flared into a storm of light, pouring outward not as a weapon, but as a wave. The energy surged through the floor and into the tunnels, rushing up through the mountain and exploding into the skies above. But instead of destroying the fleets, it passed through them, harmlessly carrying with it a flood of limitless clean energy that spread across every inhabited system, connected by the ancient star roots. In a single moment, the galaxy's dependence on the council's control vanished. Every world, every ship, every outpost received the same gift, the war above. Earth stopped, not by surrender, but because the reason for fighting was gone. The council leader's face twisted in shock as he realized his empire had crumbled in the space of a heartbeat. Veiler stared at the core's glow, and for the first time in centuries his voice held no anger, only disbelief. "You gave it away." Kane said nothing, just let the crystal fall from her hand into the golden light, where it melted like ice and was gone forever. The council forces began to retreat, their ships pulling back into the sky. The Veiler did not chase them. Instead, they stood in silent rows, watching the core's light fade until the cavern dimmed to darkness. Rinner never returned from the beam, but in the sudden quiet a voice echoed in Kane's mind, not from her ears, but from somewhere deeper. "Peace will not last unless you fight for it." And then it was gone. Kane and her team emerged from the mountain into a world still wounded, but no longer under siege. The skies clear, the enemy fleet scattered far beyond the edge of the system, but high above it. The very limits of vision, a new shadow moved, a cluster of ships, unlike the Council or the Valor, drifting just outside the solar system, watching the core's final flare fade into the blackness and in. That silent cold, the first of their strange beacons blinked once, twice, 3 times, as if answering the signal the core had sent. Kane felt the weight of what she had done settle in her chest. She had ended one war, and in doing so, she had called something else to her world, something older, and perhaps far more dangerous yet, for now the people of Earth looked up and saw the stars, not as threats, but as lights that belonged to everyone. And in the distance, where the new ships waited unseen, a whisper moved through the dark: the real story has only begun.